always one of the more popular questions that we receive is levels for the S&P 500, support, resistance. Where could we rally or fall to in this case? Let's have a look. When we look at the S&P 500, we have had a lot of consensus over the past few months that essentially the S&P would not be able to, those are strong words, not by us, by other people, would not be able to fall more than 5%. Well, as I'm recording this right now, these numbers might be different by the time you watch this. The S&P has now essentially retraced those 5% from the highs, and so according to consensus, we should stop here now. It may. However, empirically and through the lens of a little bit of experience, one would probably conclude that it won't stop here. It might bounce here for the very, very near term. Again, depending on when you watch this, this might be different, but that's about all we would expect from here on. A couple levels to watch. So again, we've got the first sort of target, at least consensus target being reached. A very, very next small, maybe sort of minor baby level to watch is on the S&P 500 itself, about 4,980-ish. That is basically the fill of the up gap that we had on the 22nd of February, when just sort of the last part of the chart chasing happened and everything was bubbling higher. And of course, that's more or less when the broader market ended up peaking. But that will be the next downside target. Again, by the time you watch this may have already been reached. I don't know. But that's, I think, the next target. Once we breach that, if and when we breach that, and I think that's when it starts to get more interesting and dicey for the consensus trade, because again, the consensus trade basically says we stop here. Then really, quite frankly, there's not a heck of a lot of support until we get to about 4,000, maybe 900 to somewhere about 4,800. So we have a bit of a target zone for 4,900 to 4,800, which is also basically the previous all-time highs from 2022. So that's kind of an obvious one. I think once we get there, we get to a point where maybe we have a little bit of fear in the market. Right now, it's still very complacent. But that also gets us to roughly about what I would consider to be a more reasonable pullback of, 7 to 8%. Can we then make it a full 10%? Of course we can. Again, that would be completely garden variety. It would be healthy. So those are the kind of levels that we are watching right now. I hope it helps for some perspective. Again, consensus is 5%, and consensus is pretty strong. They feel pretty strongly about that. We'll see. Again, the next levels to us are as mentioned here. Hope it helps. We'll see you again in the next video.